Ric Flair down.
Welcome to Black Guy White Movie with your host, Maxwell Michael Towson.
All right, and we're back to talk about some Transformers The Last Knight. So far, let's see here. So far this weekend, it looks like it's going to make $69 million in the U.S. and worldwide it's balling out with it's killing it right now, $93 million in just China alone. So that's kind of crazy. But for the U.S. numbers, it's low for a Transformers film, which is kind of crazy when you think about that. $69 million opening for any other film would be, well, hold on, unless it's a Marvel film, unless Johnny Depp's in it, because you know that's going to be $200 million. Well, some films, okay, $69 million might be crazy. But if a Think Like a Man movie made $69 million the first goddamn weekend, we'd be out here celebrating, dancing in the streets. Fucking Kevin Hart would never have to do shit again ever in his life. Will Packer would just be in Atlanta just buying all types of shit. So $69 million is still good, people. Let's not go crazy. So let's see what the people think about it. So far, Metacritic has it at a 27 out of 100, which is not... That's just bad. On Rotten Tomatoes, it's at about a 15%, which is also just not... And then the people, IMDb has it at a 5.3 out of 10. So apparently this is going to be probably the worst reviewed Transformers movie, which is saying a lot about the Transformers movies because that second film was fucking terrible. So such is life. And so we're recording this on Sunday, and already it's like think pieces about it in Variety with 3 reasons why Transformers The Last Knight folded at the domestic box office. And let me give you some of their reasons. So before we even start this. So one of their reasons is franchise fatigue, which I really don't believe in because Marvel has 700 million goddamn... They're on their 17th sequel of Iron Man right now. So, like, what the fuck? Bad word of mouth is always a thing, so possibility. And also no hook to make the movie a must-see. It's Transformers. Go see the fucking movie. So, we'll see what we can do with that shit. So Transformers The Last Knight. It's the 4th sequel of the Transformers film franchise. Marky Mark is back for another one. This is his 2nd film since they got rid of Shia LaBeouf. They also have Anthony Hopkins in this one. Josh Duhamel came back. I think this is his 4th film in the series as well. Laura Haddock plays Vivian in the movie, which is an interesting character, actually, but we can get into that a little bit later. And then also the young Isabella Marner plays Isabella. I guess they didn't really want to do much with that in the film as well. Gerard Carmichael is in it it's like the Bernie Mac role where they want a black Bernie Mac, Anthony Anderson did this. They just want a black comedian in it. So Gerard Carmichael stepped in. So shout out to him for that. And then Stanley Tucci is randomly in the fucking movie as Merlin. Yeah, I said he's Merlin, so we'll get into that as well. So this film actually starts out in the King Arthur era with a war between King Arthur and I want to say, who is he at war with? Do they do the Picts? Like, what are they? Doesn't even matter. King Arthur is at war. He's losing. He's going to lose. And he sends Merlin out to find a secret weapon. Now, Merlin, in this rendition of it, like Stanley Tucci plays a Merlin that is actually a charlatan and doesn't have any magic. And he's a drunkard. He's just out here living life, lying to people. But luckily, a Transformer ship has crash landed near where they're fighting. I mean, I guess it happened centuries ago because it's kind of molded into the rock formation at this point. And so luckily that happened, and Merlin knows where the Transformers are. He goes to them and requests that they need help. And if they don't win this war, then the Earth will be destroyed. Like, these people that they're fighting against don't have their same ideals, so on and so forth. So the Transformer gives him a weapon, a staff, that only he can wield, and it will allow him to control a Transformer dragon. Yeah, that's how the movie started, where King Arthur, Merlin, and the Transformers all create some union. That's the beginning of the movie. Cool. You flash forward, Now we're at, if you haven't really seen the Transformers movies before, like they had a huge battle sequence in the last one Shia LaBeouf was in Chicago. So they go back to the wreckage in Chicago, which is kind of dope. I actually did like that as a point of emphasis in the film, how they go back to where this big, like what would happen in the aftermath of an alien invasion where they actually had to go to war. So that was kind of dope to see that. But then they fuck up because, of course, it's going to be little kids that are in the area. They introduce Isabella, who's supposed to be this tough kid that's living by herself, except she's hanging out with a Transformer, Autobot, that's protecting her. It's stupid as shit. Marky Mark comes out of nowhere and helps the kids. They get away. Isabella just hangs on with Marky Mark, who is now running from the government along with Bumblebee because the government is trying to track down all Transformers, regardless if they're Autobots or Decepticons. So Autobots are the good guys, Decepticons are the bad guys. The government doesn't give a fuck. They're just trying to kill everybody. Doesn't even fucking matter. They do all of this. You find out that Marky Mark's character is now holding like some of the Autobots at a junkyard just to kind of hide them. I believe they're in Mexico, but whatever, again, none of that shit matters. And Optimus Prime has left the Earth. So here's the thing about this movie. It's actually a good movie somewhere in this script. They just fucked it up because in the beginning of the movie, you kind of get to see, like after the King Arthur bullshit, you see Optimus Prime floating in space in this cryo sleep. And he's headed towards Cybertron, which is the planet all the Transformers came from. And it's a dead planet now. Okay, fine. He finally gets there, but when he gets there, his original creator, I think her name is Quintessa or whatever the fuck it is, his creator decides that, hey, I'm going to brainwash you to go back to Earth and get this staff that I fucking need so I can recreate Cybertron on Earth. That's pretty much the whole contention of the movie. We need to get the staff that was given to Merlin, which doesn't make sense now. Like if you have a staff that can create life, why would you just give it to some human that wants to whatever? So they need the staff. Optimus Prime is brainwashed. They send him back. He fucks up everybody. You know what? Like these movies really should just be called Where's Optimus Prime? Because anytime this motherfucker shows up, whether he's good or in this instance bad, like somebody's getting fucked up, and he's the only way to kind of turn the tide regardless. It could be 3 Transformers against 400. Optimus Prime is going to win. It don't fucking matter what happens in a movie. It doesn't matter the storyline sometimes. Like you just need to get Optimus. I remember the one movie where he died in it. Shia LaBeouf brought him back to life, and then he just went on and killed everybody. It's the craziest shit. It's just like, why even have any, like Optimus Prime is Jesus. He's the lion in the Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe where he's just out here killing everybody. He sacrifices himself for no fucking reason. These movies should be, when Optimus Prime shows up, this shit is over. But anyway, let's get back to this shit. So they're looking for the staff is the big thing. They finally get it. The, what's her name? Laura Haddock somehow is a descendant of Merlin, so she's able to wield the staff because only descendants of Merlin can do this. She's able to get the staff. The staff gets back to the Autobots creator, which starts destroying Earth because, of course, you got to have some type of beam or some shit. I don't know I need to start going to Hollywood meetings and these Illuminati meetings again because I need to understand what this blue beam of light that shoots up into the sky means in all these fucking movies, because there's some significance to this shit that I'm just missing or don't quite understand why every movie has a blue beam of light just shooting up into the sky. Like every fucking one. Avengers, what was the fuck, Suicide Squad. Like anytime it's an alien force coming to take over some shit, like suddenly it's a blue beam of light just shooting. Like I even think in the second Avengers movie it was like some type of beam that they had as the shit, like the whole continent well, not the continent, but like that piece of rock lifted off the ground, Sokovia. But yeah, I just got to know like what's happening in these Illuminati meetings. What are they trying to tell us? Like what is going on with this blue beam that everybody's using? Or probably the thing is everybody's using the same visual effects house, and so they just like blue and like blue beams. That's probably what it's going to be. But so, like, of course, Optimus Prime figures everything out. Somehow they bring back Megatron, even though he died 3 movies ago. Who gives a fuck? These movies don't need to really have anything to do with anything. But they figure the shit out. Everything ends up working out. The humans win. The Autobots go back to Cybertron. Because somehow during this movie, Cybertron has been pulled into the Earth's... It's just been pulled to Earth. It's a part of Earth now, but they're separate planets. It just doesn't... Like, I'm sorry, I just don't know. Like, nobody... I watched the movie and I still don't know why the fuck... How is any of this going to work? I mean, I'm sure they're going to make a sequel to it, even though it didn't make as much money as they thought. They'll just bring in a new director just to kind of figure some shit out and make it, quote-unquote, grittier. They always do the same shit. It's the same formula every time. You just make it grittier. Suddenly, you get a couple of F-bombs in the movie. Maybe you add in The Rock, because The Rock can do anything. And you go from there. Like, that's just how you make sure these series keep going. You just follow the Fast and the Furious blueprint of adding in The Rock, add some more action, make it a heist movie. Maybe the Transformers out here trying to steal some shit now. Whatever you got to do to keep this shit going, keep that gravy train moving. Maybe next time market it a little less, but just say, hey, China, it's another Transformers movie. And you're good, because when you're pretty much making your money back just in China alone, life is good out here. I'm just wondering, like, how many more times can Michael Bay just have these movies with these women? Like, at least this one, she was on paper intelligent, but just the shit she did as a character wasn't. Like, on paper, she was a doctor, she was a professor, she was the only one that knew all the information about Arthur and the Knights. Yet, that shit never mattered. Like, it didn't matter that she knew this information. It didn't matter anything. Like, any of her intellectual knowledge really didn't matter, because the whole time, Anthony Hopkins was giving you all the exposition that you needed. So, like, to have a character, for example, like, to have a character like her, let's relate her to somebody like Nicolas Cage's character in the National Treasure movies. If you haven't seen those movies, it's just pretty much a guy that's an archaeologist, super smart, and he's looking for like hidden treasure and shit that is connected to the U.S. in some way. Okay, cool. But every little clue, he can figure it out. Every little thing, like, he has the knowledge for every little beat you go on in the story. This guy has the knowledge for it. Even when he needs help from people, he still has the knowledge to supplement the help that they gave him, so on and so forth. This character that, what's her name in the movie? So Laura Haddock played the character Vivian in the movie, who ended up being the descendant of Merlin. I'm not understanding why this character, she never figured out shit. They never never had clues or anything where you could utilize her expertise. It was just pretty much, I mean, I get it. She's there because she looks pretty, whatever. But at the same time, if you're going to have these characters, like Marky Mark is playing a character that knows nothing, that can really do nothing. He's supposed to be an inventor, so he kind of helps fix the Autobots from time to time. But his character is really pointless. Like, they give him something to do in this movie because he becomes the quote-unquote last knight, which also is never really fully explained and just kind of used as a... these screenwriters just kind of used that as a bridge to get on to the third act, because there was no reason that he was the last knight in this movie. But what the fuck ever, it doesn't matter. But I'm just not understanding why they can't utilize some of these female characters a little bit better in this movie, especially when they definitely... I think they made a concerted effort to make her the brightest character that they've had, and yet still they didn't know how to use her and make sure that this character had a purpose in the film besides being a girl there for Marky Mark to kiss toward the end of the movie. It was the same bullshit of like moms asking her when is she going to get married and have kids. It's like, guys, come on. And at the same time, this movie, even for Michael Bay, the movie wasn't paced well. It just didn't have really good interactions, even between the fucking Transformers. Like, they've had 4 or so fucking Transformers movies. You should know their characterization. And still yet, it had these problems, and by the third act, when Bumblebee finally killed the creator, or Quintessa, or whatever her name was, people were in my movie theater clapping. When Optimus Prime left for no reason and then came back in the middle of the fucking fight in the third act, people were in the theater clapping. When Vivian, the character in the movie, finally got the staff and was able to save Earth, people were in the theater clapping. So it's something Michael Bay is doing out here that he kind of gets to the core of what people need by the time you get to the third act. But throughout the movie, it was just like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the fuck is happening out here. I don't know why. I don't know why we're doing this to ourselves. Like, we got to stop doing these movies. Pirates has to stop. Like, let's just move on. It's not even franchise fatigue. It's just like, just give me something fresh. Like, repackage some shit like Tyler Perry and Will Packer do. Like, just do whatever we got to do here, folks. But it's just not, this just isn't working. This Transformers shit has got, downscale it a little bit, have a more intimate feel for the next one. Maybe it's just all Transformers and no humans, or you'll just have Optimus Prime and Bumblebee out on doing some shit. Whatever you got to do, but this shit we got to consolidate some shit here. Like, maybe only spend $80 million on the next one just to kind of figure out, okay, never mind, that's not going to happen. But we need to do something. If you're going to reboot it or have a different director, or whatever the fuck you're going to do, but we can't come back to this every couple of years where it's another Transformers movie and it's getting draining, guys. I mean, I understand China loves these. I understand you're making your money out here, but just creatively, it's just getting like, come on, guys. We got to do better. But I think that's going to be it for the review this week, because honestly, it's nothing to talk about in this film. Nothing was exciting. Nothing was different or new. Editing was on point per usual. Like, now I know that it's 17 editors, so that's why. Actually, I got to know, how did they have that cohesive vision, or at least to make a cohesive film with that many editors? That's kind of crazy. But yeah, it's not really much to talk about with this one. So we're going to wrap this up for the week. Again, make sure you check out the write-up on the film Low Life, like Tom Fondo's film Low Life, over at Birth Movies Death. Always, you can email us at blackguywhitemovie@gmail.com. Also, follow me on Instagram at Maxwell Towson. Follow us on YouTube at Tom Fondo, and also on Facebook at Black Guy White Movie. As always, RIP Alex, and we'll see you guys next week.